Welcome, everybody, to another brief lecture going over a chapter in the Design Dialogue book by Jack Stoops and Samuelson. For this lecture, I want to talk about the chapter concerning visual awareness and expanding the perceptive eye. So, right off the bat, we are talking about aesthetic perception. And the Oxford Language Dictionary's definition of aesthetic, just aesthetic, is concerned with the beauty or the appreciation of beauty. Okay, so when we put that with aesthetic perception, perception is, the way that we experience the world around us. Adding aesthetic to the beginning of that, we are concerned with how we perceive the beauty and appreciate that beauty around us. Objects explored for intrinsic visual qualities. So we look at the objects for intrinsic visual qualities. For example, instead of just seeing shapes for shapes, like if I look at a coffee mug, I'm not just looking at the shape or the form, but I'm also diving a little bit deeper and looking at the size, the texture, the color, and any additional minute qualities that I could continue to look at. You know, if there's coffee drips or stains, if there's a chip, something like that. So we dive deeper with aesthetic perception. So we as humans, we see things generally as symbols. As artists, we have to separate ourselves. We have to separate our visual awareness so we no longer just see the symbols, but we really see what is in front of us. Human beings, we naturally see through symbols. It's easier for our brains to process symbols. So if I look at a box, I see it's a rectangle, it's a box. If I see a spoon, my brain immediately just symbolizes it's a spoon. A bottle, my brain just naturally symbolizes a bottle. And the way that I can test that is if I look at a spoon and then maybe 5 minutes later, I'm going to draw the spoon. My brain has simplified it so much so that it no longer holds that shape of a spoon or holds that specific shape of a bottle. But my brain just immediately creates some symbol for that shape that I saw. So when we first learn to draw in like a beginning drawing class, one of the first assignments, generally speaking, is, at least in my experience, is the blind contour drawing. And really the blind contour is there to start the journey where we detach our eyes from what our brains are telling us that we see. Okay, so a blind contour, for anybody who's unfamiliar, is you'll have a figure or you'll have a still life in front of you, and then you'll have your paper ready to draw. And then the challenge is you're not allowed to look at the paper as you're drawing it. You're only allowed to trust your eyes and what you see, okay? And there's a lot of beauty that comes into blind contours, and there's a lot of apprehension and hesitation for one's first blind contour, because we're so tied to our brain and its natural direction towards symbolism, that it's really, really hard for us to really see things as they are. To disconnect ourselves from that is really, really important, and it's one of the first steps as designers as we begin our career as artists is what do you really see? What stop listening to your brain. I mean, the brain, I mean, always listen to your brain, but when we're talking about visual awareness, no longer listen to your brain saying, "Oh, that's a spoon, and this is how you draw it." It's just this symbol that has been repeated in your life over time, and now this is how I recognize or process that it is a spoon. Okay, I hope this makes sense. And if it doesn't, please reach out and we can talk further about it. So, as designers with visual awareness, we need to start looking at things for their intrinsic visual qualities rather than just the surface, just the, oh, that's a coffee cup. Yes, it is a coffee cup, but what's the shape of the coffee cup? What's the subtle texture with that coffee cup? Are there any stains? Are there any chips? What color is the coffee cup? Is there specific shadows that is being created because of the way the light is hitting the coffee cup, or the textures that are present with that cup? So we really need to start seeing things for what they are, and that will help increase our visual toolbox as we continue our journey to become designers. So, okay. Okay, so according to, excuse me, let me get the correct person. Pardon me. Okay, so according to Pearson, it's right there, outlines, he outlines four main kinds of vision. There is practical vision, there is curious vision, there's imaginative or reflective vision, and there's pure vision. Okay. Practical vision is vision that results in action. So practical object, or it's very practical. It's object oriented. It's used for survival. It's that first. It's what we were first talking about. It's when I see a spoon, my brain just symbolizes it as a spoon orientated in a certain direction, and that's a spoon. But if I dive deeper, I then inform my mind that the spoon is front facing. It's not side facing. But my brain just wants to create that symbol for survival, because we as humans are very survival based, but we're very practical creatures. When we drive down the street, practical vision is necessary. Don't, if you're driving down the street, that is not the time for curious vision, imaginative vision, or pure vision, especially pure vision. Practical vision is what we need when we're driving, for example, or when we're walking down the street quickly, when we don't have time to sit and look at things. We know what a sidewalk looks like. We know that keeps us safe from cars. We know what a stop sign looks like because that keeps us safe. We know what doorknobs look like because it keeps us safe and it allows us to enter and exit. Okay, so that's practical vision. We use practical vision every single day of our lives. Then from practical vision, we have curious vision. Curious vision shifts from practical vision slightly. After looking at an object, it is the why. It is the how was it made. A lot of scientific observation is is curious, is a curious vision. We see the doorknob, and as long as we're in a safe environment where we can be curious, we can start asking ourselves, I wonder how that was made, or I wonder what that's made of. Okay. So you start shifting from just the symbols to keep us safe and alive as human beings into the why, um, into how was that made, why was that made, what is that made of. Okay. Then from there, we go into imaginative or reflective vision. Okay. These are the powers of visual recall. For me as an artist, I use a lot of imaginative and reflective vision. A lot of the world that I see around me makes it into my mind's eye. And when I'm problem solving a design problem, I pull from that imaginative or reflective vision. Okay, it's the powers of visual recall. It's a creative leap forward. It allows the mind to engage in a new level of invention in which images are not only recalled, but mixed through free play of the imagination. Okay. I don't know about you, but I know that when my imagination is active, when I'm reflecting, when I'm trying to problem solve a design problem with my imagination or through reflection, there's so many things that are occurring all at once, and my brain is just moving through these these images and these textures or these flashes in order to effectively test out and come up with potential design solutions. Okay, so imaginative and reflective vision is very important, especially for designers and artists, because we're really activating our mind's eye, and all of the things that we have pulled from our realities. That's where it gets to kind of mishmash and churn inside of our minds to ultimately come up with potential design solutions or artistic solutions. Okay. Then we have pure vision. Okay. Pure vision is something that we have to practice. It's something that we need to be intentional with. Pure vision is the vision where objects are observed for their intrinsic visual qualities. Okay. Just their visual qualities. It's completely disconnected from all practical associations. So it's the subtle shifts of values as light on that coffee mug that we were talking about earlier. How how does that light shift on that mug and the surface? What are the textures? What are the colors? If it's outside, how does the sun play into those shadows and those textures as the day goes by? And that pure vision, those like simplistically, those colors, those textures, the way the light moves, that's pure vision. Okay. And um, that's that's something that we really have to be intentional with. We have to be in a place where we have moved past practical, we've moved past curious, and we are truly just looking at the object or the form for its intrinsic visual qualities. Okay, we've completely disconnected it from everything else, and we're just looking at it for the beauty that it is, or the disgustingness that it is. That's a very personal thought. You know, some people may think that the muck in that we find in standing water is is ugly and disgusting, whereas other people, perhaps using their pure vision, see it as this beautiful texture, this soft texture. Depending on the colors, it could be green, it could be orange. These colors can be beautiful. The texture that's soft and squishy to some may be slimy to others. So that's a very, pure vision is very personal to the individual seeing. Okay, because everything has beauty. It's just a matter of um, where, where do we see it, and do we need to separate our minds from these symbolisms before we can actually see the true beauty in everything, in absolutely everything. Okay. So I love this. Literally, one is set free to see, experience all sorts of images, regardless of setting, cost, prior associations, etc. Pure vision is liberated vision. When vision is liberated fully, true visual perception begins. Okay, so I want you to practice pure vision. That's the challenge I want to leave you with after this lecture. Is when you see things, as long as you're in a safe place. Don't do it when you're driving or riding a bike or skateboarding or anything like that. When you're in a place of safety, I want you to practice really looking at things, and they can be mundane things. They can be anything. If your eyes can see it, I want you to practice seeing with pure vision. Okay. So, one thing that what I'm going to leave you with is when we talk about pure vision, there's a couple of examples in this book, and one is the Greek art. So Greek designers really loved the snail shell or the nautilus. Okay, and the Greek designers chose to modify, join, repeat, and adjust the coiling spiral to suit a number of design uses. So they're pulling from nature. They're using that pure vision. They're seeing the beauty, and then they are taking those elements and applying it to their designs. Okay. Then there is the contemporary designer Eric Nietzsche. He responded visually to the fleeting, flashing images that one perceives while riding in a subway train. Okay, so his subway posters captures the rush of movement and color. Okay, and it creates a striking visual statement. Okay, so the relationship between the visual source and the design solution. Okay, so there's a relationship between the visual source and the design solution. Okay, so we gather from the world these images that can nourish our this internal vision. Okay, and then we set that internal vision to a new rhythm, and through that we're able to create these design solutions. Okay. The idea may be reworked until it bears little resemblance to the original visual stimulus. Okay, so we pull from our environment anything that can nourish that internal vision, or nourish that toolbox for that internal vision, so that when we are approached with a design problem, we can pull from that, and we can set those images or those textures to a new rhythm, and through that new rhythm we're able to create these design solutions. Okay, so pull from your environment, look at things, look at the beauty in things. A cardboard box, the way the cardboard folds, the way the light hits the cardboard, the texture, the color, that can go in my toolbox. And then when I'm approached with a design problem, I can set those textures and those creases to a new rhythm, create a new form, and through that potentially create a design solution. Okay, so pull from the world around you. As a designer, we practice perceptual openness, forever perceiving and absorbing environmental stimuli and storing images that fuel creative endeavors. Let me read that one last time because I want that to be the big takeaway for today. It's right here. The designer practices perceptual openness. Okay, we were just talking about that. He or she is forever perceiving and absorbing environmental stimuli and storing images that fuel creative endeavors. Okay, so we're forever perceiving, we're forever open to this perception, and we're absorbing that environmental stimuli, and we're storing those images so that then we can set it to a new rhythm, and that new rhythm can then fuel creative endeavors. Okay, so that's this chapter for today. Again, it is Visual Awareness, Chapter 1, Expanding the Perceptive Eye. I really appreciate your time. I hope that this lecture has given you permission to see through pure vision, to see through pure vision and to store it in your mind for that imaginative and reflective vision, so that hopefully it will aid you in design solutions in the future. Okay? Thank you guys so much for your time, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a beautiful day. Goodbye.